I knew it was a religious cult when I got there, and then I was convinced it's spiritual, not religious, which is part of the gaslighting and indoctrination. When I got there, they're like, we need the brainwashing. So they brainwash you that you need the brainwashing. And it took me 5 years after leaving, when I was really digging in, when I really dug in deep, and I was like, oh, AA is a religious cult for sure. The more that I dig into it, the more that I wake up and can see it more clearly. Hello, welcome to the Sobriety Bestie podcast. My name is Kirsten. Super stoked you're here today for this great series. We are kicking off about Grieving Alcoholics Anonymous. This is about emotional freedom. It's about freedom in general, emotional, mental freedom, untangling from AA. So this is like recovering from recovery. This video is about denial. We are going to be going through what's called the 5 stages of grief. We're going to be going through 1 video a week this week, Monday through Friday, to go through all 5 stages of grief. And then we'll have a 6th video and start back with our Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. There's no rules, by the way, for healing. This is one model. This is not required. There's no lines. There's no order. We are complex human beings. There is no one way is the way. Let's just let that go right now. But this is from a book from psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Originally, she described these stages in people facing terminal illness, but over time, the model has applied more broadly to non-death losses like deconstructing from cult religions like Alcoholics Anonymous. When I was in AA, they talked about denial. Don't even know I am lying. Did you hear that ever? Let me know in the comments. And it's tricky. There's like gaslighting that comes along with this whole denial thing, right? Like when I got to AA, they told me that I was in denial because I said I'm not an alcoholic. And they said, you're in denial. And I'm like, no, I'm not an alcoholic. And they're like, yeah, but that's denial, and that's a symptom of you being an alcoholic. Therefore, because you say you're not an alcoholic, you are an alcoholic. It is so emotionally manipulating and such a mind fuck to like think about that. You're in denial. No, I'm not. Yes, the fact that you say you're not means you are. It's like you can't win. It's like this circular dead end baloney to trap you in. Did that happen to you? They even had me read the chapter in the back of the book all about denial. So there's that. So we're going to go through these 5 stages and how they could apply to you leaving Alcoholics Anonymous, what that might look like. To unpack things, there'll be journaling prompts in here. It's going to be a whole vibe. In 2018, I did something called the Grief Recovery Method. I got certified in something called the Grief Recovery Method. We're also going to do an exercise from the Grief Recovery Method in this series that I think is going to be super fun and helpful. Here's how I think about denial in general. Let's say there's a glass blower and they make the most beautiful glass cup to drink out of. It's gorgeous. There's a lot of effort in it. It's beautiful. And they fill it, or somebody fills it with poison and hands it to you. You don't have to say, oh, I can't talk about the poison because the glass is so beautiful. Well, that's kind of how I see Alcoholics Anonymous. We can acknowledge that maybe we got help there. I know personally I got help there. I know that some of you feel like you didn't get help there. I personally got some help there. And also I personally feel that it's toxic and poisonous to a lot of things like critical thinking, self-trust, self-esteem, independence. We get indoctrinated into the ideology of we're powerless, get learned helplessness because we have a fatal progressive disease. We're forever alcoholics at the identity level, and we need a forever free labor for Bill's 12-step ideology, like work for the group. We need to have commitments in the group, sponsor, all of that stuff. I don't believe that any of that is true anymore. I was in AA for 10 years and I left 5 years ago. So now I feel like that's all baloney. Those are all just ideas. They're not true. They're not facts. And so yes, that was the poison that was in my cup. The part that was beautiful for me was some of the relationships that I made there. There were a lot of people there that I really liked. And there are some of them that are still in my life who have also left AA. There's a lot of people that I thought were my friends who are no longer my friends because I left AA. And I realized that we have to believe the same thing. In their mind, we have to believe the same thing in order for us to be friends. And I have the capacity now, having deconstructed a lot of AA, where I can have friends. I have the space within me to have friends who have different beliefs than me. So the glass can be beautiful. Maybe there's some things from AA that we liked, and we could still acknowledge that we don't want to drink from it anymore because it's filled with poison. It contains poison. And for me, it's not like AA has some bad apples in it, which is what a lot of AA defenders say. For me, it's like, no, It's not a bad apple. The ideology itself is harmful, regardless of what individuals are preaching it or how they are interpreting the 12 steps and the book, the big book, right? To me, the entire thing is coded. The DNA of AA is toxic. It's poisonous. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the cup is. It's the liquid that we're drinking in AA is actually toxic. That's how I see it. Obviously, you're going to have your own experience here. The invitation really is for you to trust yourself. So critical thinking on you. What do you think? You certainly shouldn't believe everything that I say. I don't always believe everything that I say. I used to preach Alcoholics Anonymous. As we evolve, our thoughts evolve, our beliefs evolve. So it's really about what makes sense to you, activating your own critical thinking and trusting yourself. So what this denial might look like in the context of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this might be different for you. These are just some examples. So AA wasn't perfect, but at least it kept me sober. That's called minimizing. Maybe I didn't just try hard enough. That would be self-blame. I didn't leave. I'm just taking a break. That could be avoidance. Maybe that's not avoidance for you, but that could be avoidance. AA helped millions. Maybe I'm the problem. That's internalizing the harm. All groups have flaws. This isn't a big deal. That's rationalizing the harms. This stage, when we're in denial, could be filled with things like conflicting thoughts, emotional numbness, mental fog, and difficulty trusting yourself. I know that's a big one for a lot of us. Difficulty trusting ourselves. I think that's one of the most poisonous things inside the glass of Alcoholics Anonymous, is poisoning us to distrust our thoughts and ourself and our intuition. Now let's talk about cognitive dissonance, which you've likely heard of, but I think it's really worth mentioning here. That's where we have two different thoughts in our head and they don't agree. And so there's this dissonance, this difference, this, wait a minute, if this is true and this is true. The thoughts could be like, AA helped me, AA harmed me. Just like that, the glass is beautiful, but it's filled with poison, right? Yeah, okay, there was support there, or there were people that I liked there, or there was a benefit to having that routine and that schedule, or I learned some things that were helpful, and also it's harmful. So it could be cognitive dissonance, but it's also okay at the same time to have a split view on it. The black and white thinking and why we could be in denial about AA's harms is because AA taught us to have black and white thinking. It's all good. It's all bad. You're either an alcoholic or you're not. God is everything or God is nothing. So AA gives us this whole black and white thinking. We're the alcoholics. They're the normies. And it splits everything up. And life really isn't like that. It's more nuanced. Denial also makes sense because AA is teaching us to not trust our thinking. Your best thinking got you here is a common phrase, which makes us doubt our own thinking. Or I heard things like, your head is not a safe neighborhood. Don't spend too much time in your head. I don't know what you heard about not trusting your thinking. But the program is designed to create a dependency upon our sponsor, then the group, and then a higher power. So systematically, our critical thinking is eroded over time. Then anytime we have a question about the ideology, we're met, not every time, a lot of the time, it's the culture. If we question the ideology, we know we might be shunned, or we know we're going to get accepted if we're obedient, right? So when we question it, we're often met with what's called thought-stopping techniques. In AA, they're called slogans. So we say something that might question the ideology or the program or the steps or whatever, and then somebody will say, live and let live, turn it over, pray about it. Anything basically that's going to have you kind of shut you up or go be of service, get out of self. It makes sense to have the denial because our brains are designed to protect ourselves. That's our number one job of our brain, is like to keep us safe. So the denial can serve as like a way to protect us from what we feel like could be harm. I know for me, because I was a true believer in AA, I internalized all the way into my nervous system that to leave was to die. So even thinking thoughts about leaving or even being friends with people who left, right? The reason why we shun people when they leave or why we get shunned when we leave is because they're dangerous. When people left AA in my group, they were called a ticking time bomb, or maybe even like a walking red flag. So there was all this terminology around what's safe and what's dangerous. So it makes questioning the system feel dangerous. And if you do question the system, people are going to start looking at you like you're dangerous. If you're really deep in the ideology. Now, the way I look at it is that it's like a spectrum, right? Not everybody's at the core into true believer land like where I was. They might be more on the periphery of AA, not as involved, were questioning it more, or they weren't in the middle of the boat or the middle of the herd. So there's gonna be varying experiences for all of this. Definitely drop in the comments what your experience is. Would love to vibe with you in the conversation down there about what it was like for you. Let's look at ways to vibe this a little deeper if you're feeling it. We're gonna discuss some journaling prompts. So the invitation here is you can see what just pops up for you as I say it, chew on it throughout your day, whatever you want to do. You can pause this and you can write them down so that you can reflect. You can pause and actually journal right now, or you can pause, write it down, listen, and then you can journal later. However you want to do this, trust yourself. Obviously, these are just some journaling prompts to get you thinking, to help you pop out of any denial that you might be in, or help you awaken to the next level of some freedom right here. What parts of AA still feel helpful or comforting to you, and why? Remember, there's no shame in what supported you. Let's just get honest about it. Why do you feel loyal to AA, if you do? And what does loyalty mean to you? Does it feel like gratitude, fear, guilt, obligation, identity, or something else? Like, I felt like I couldn't talk about leaving AA forever for 5 years, because I felt like I was being disloyal to the group. That took me a while to unpack. That no, I can own my story. No, I can speak my truth. Especially if I think it's harmful, what am I protecting? Why do I need to be loyal to a group that I think is harmful? So see what comes up for you there. Have you ever downplayed your pain or made excuses for what happened in AA? And if so, what might you be protecting yourself from feeling? I know when it gets to like the 13th step, a lot of us can have a lot of feelings about this. If we knew about it, if we saw it, if we did it, there can be a lot to unpack with these questions. I know for me, sometimes when I imagine like my younger self or somebody that I love, and I think about it through that perspective, it can help me get more clarity with how I would want to talk to myself or be treated myself or whatever. And so if you could imagine what you were experiencing in AA happened to a loved one, whether it was your partner, your parent, your kid, your pet, something that you loved, right? If what you experienced happened to a loved one, what would you tell them about it? What would you want for them? What are you afraid might happen if you fully let yourself question AA? Now, you might not be afraid to question AA, but if you are afraid to question AA, or you notice that emotions come up, what's there? What would it mean to trust yourself even just a little bit more right now? Okay, how was that? Did anything pop up for you? If you have any initial gut hits or thoughts, feel free to share them in the comments. Let's vibe down there together and unpack with each other. The point that I really want to make here is it's okay to love something or have gratitude for something or appreciate some aspects of something, while also acknowledging that you were harmed by something. That we don't have to like, what is that sentence? Oh my God, now that I'm thinking about it, it sounds bananas. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't know where that analogy comes from, but it's just, this is one of my tangents. Squirrel, squirrel. That analogy is so bananas. Do you know where that comes from? I should look that up. I bet I can find that out really easily. But yeah, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't even want to say that tangent, but you catch the vibe of what I'm saying. We don't have to throw everything away, but we can acknowledge that some of it isn't useful, and we could be honest about what's harmed us. Denial, of course, is a little bit tricky because it implies that we can't see it. For me, this video is really about bringing more awareness to looking at the ways that we were harmed, even if we were helped. And maybe you just were so harmed that you're not even seeing how you were helped. Of course, it's possible that you're not in denial at all. I guess my honest opinion is that we probably are all in denial a little bit of things. I know I'm always surprised by, like, every time I learn more, I'm like, oh my God, right? So each evolution, I can realize that there was things that I didn't know, or maybe it was denial, maybe it just was ignorance or lack of understanding or whatever. Like, I didn't know that AA was a religious cult until like 2 months ago, really. And I left AA in April 2020. And then April 2025 is when I started talking about it on the internet. And about 2 months after that is when I really dug in deep and I was like, oh, AA is a religious cult for sure. The entire thing is about getting a relationship with God. So 100% it is Bill's religion. And there's coercive control baked into the entire thing. And so it's a cult. In my mind, the coercive control makes it a cult. And there's very specific ways that define what a cult is or not. I have a whole playlist about AA as a cult. I'll put it up here if you want to go down that journey, if you haven't already. My point is that I didn't even know it was a religious cult until years after I left. At the same time, I knew AA was a religious cult before I ever went. When I first walked into Alcoholics Anonymous, I knew it was a religious cult. That's literally what I was thinking, was I don't want to join a religious cult. I got there the night out of rehab and someone's like, here's the big book. I'm your sponsor. Here's my phone number. I circled all the meetings that you should go to, the ones that I liked. And I remember just thinking in my head, I didn't fucking join. I don't want to join your religious cult. I'm just scared I might drink. And I just left rehab. And so I knew it was a religious cult when I got there. And then I was convinced it's spiritual, not religious, which is part of the gaslighting and indoctrination. And then I forgot it was a cult, even though when I got there, they're like, we need the brainwashing. So they brainwash you into that you need the brainwashing. The more that I dig into it, the more that I wake up and can see it more clearly. Even now, I've read a couple of books this week, and every time I read a book or every time I dig deep, I'm like, holy shit. More is revealed, as they say in AA. More is revealed about how harmful AA, how harmful the liquid inside the glass is. Yes, to me, it's undeniable that there are benefits from Alcoholics Anonymous, whether it's just community alone. There's that study where it's like the opposite of addiction is connection. Look, everyone has their opinion on addiction. There's a lot of theories and opinions. I know I got tremendous value from the community. So there was a glass, meaning there were parts of AA that were helpful, and inside there was toxic parts of it. And the more that I dive in and do healing work and deconstruct AA, the more I realize how harmful it actually was. And that's part of my own journey of waking up and getting free. I just want to get free. Team freedom, anyone? Team freedom? You with me on this one? So I hope you got a lot out of this. We're going to go through, there's 6 videos total in the series, and I'll see you in the next video, which is all about anger, the second phase of grief from leaving Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.